This is the first Deep Magic book ever created. Well, it's the second Deep Magic book ever created because it's a pocket edition, but other than just being a little bit smaller, it is exactly the same as the first Deep Magic book ever created. But it was the target of a lot of complaining about different things. First of all, people thought it wasn't really play-tested, a lot of stuff wasn't really ordered very well, and some of these things in here are actually just really overpowered and even game-breaking. And although some of these accusations are a little bit harsh, most of them are true. But if we move up a few years, we get Deep Magic Volume 1 and Volume 2 in one really cool sleeve. Volume 2 being an entirely new book with new spells, new circles, new ways to cast magic, magical environments, there is subclasses, an entirely new class, and Volume 1 being the old book but completely remastered to make it look and feel as if these two books are part of one entire big tome of magical awesomeness. And the amount of content that you get for your $129.99 US is so incredibly big, I've decided not to review them. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Trosk and this is still your go-to YouTube channel for anything Kobold Press, and today I want to talk about Deep Magic Volume 1, the new version, and Volume 2, the new book. It is a set of two books that has a ton of magic stuff for your D&D campaign, your 5th edition campaign, your whatever campaign you are playing. Now, I got this about 2 weeks ago on my doorstep, and I didn't think about getting it. I totally forgot that Kobold Press was sending this to me. Thank you, Kobold Press, for sending this to me. But I've been flipping through it for a couple of days, and I've decided that due to the sheer amount of content that is in here, it is almost damn near impossible for me to actually review these books and actually give you a proper opinion on if the stuff in here is somewhat balanced or there's just so much. So for this video, I want to do more of a first impressions video and kind of show you what you get for your money and my opinion and some of my impressions on it. And later in the video, I want to open the PDF and show you one thing in the second book that I think is really, really cool. So the first thing I want to do is kind of talk about some of the differences between Deep Magic Volume 1 and Volume 1 of Deep Magic. Because in this old book, they say that it has on the back more than 700 new spells, which is really great in itself. A lot of really cool spells in here, but was also the subject of a lot of complaining, especially about balance and some of these spells even completely destroying and breaking the game. What this book says on the back is they have 600 new spells. And I've been researching this, and there's actually a spell that I covered in a video, my 5 favorite spells from the first Deep Magic. It's an old video where I talk about a spell called Memento Mori. And I cannot, for the sake of me, find that spell in this book. I might be wrong, but I can't find it in this book. It is not in here. And what that tells me is that Kobold Press really took those people, the stuff they were saying about their book, to their heart, and they really dug in here. And they probably went in there and got rid of a lot of spells, wrote some new spells, balanced out some spells. That's the feeling, at least, that I'm getting from this, because a good writer, to my opinion, knows how to get rid of stuff that isn't actually good and doesn't really add anything to the game or the book or to the content. I'd rather have a book with 100 beautiful, good, well-written pages than 200 only medium or bad written pages. So in that sense, I think Deep Magic is really cool because they also added a ton of stuff to it. For example, there is a completely new class in here called the Theurge or the Theurge, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is basically a wizard and a cleric in one. It is a spellcaster like we know and love spellcasters, basically. It does the same thing as a wizard. It has a spell list, spells known and cantrips known and all that stuff, but it can basically choose from the cleric and wizard spell list. And then it also has Theurge insights dice that it can use if it makes a religion or an arcana check. It can use an extra d6 to their roll in order to make the chances of their roll people perform better, or there's more chance for them succeeding at the Arcana or the History check, which is something that I really like because I, for example, really love the Divination Wizard from the first rule set of 5th edition. The Divination Wizard is one of my favorite wizards, and I just think the Theurge kind of fills that gap. I mean, you can have a wizard now that can also perform a lot of the cleric spells, and that is just something that I've been missing for a long time. When I was playing a wizard, I always wanted to like dip into levels of cleric just to get some of those, I don't know, get some of those healing spells and support spells that the cleric gets. And with the Theurge, you're basically allowed to do that from the get-go without the hassle of multi-classing. Now, other than completely overhauling the index and just the way everything is set up in this book and everything is ordered in this book to make your life easier, it is 95, 96, 97%, maybe even the same book as Deep Magic, the first one, the old one you might have on your shelf already. One thing to note though that they added to this is really cool because these books are written for 5th edition and you can play them for your 5th edition spells. They have a section in the back for Tales of the Valiant spell conversion. So if you are playing Tales of the Valiant, which uses the Black Flag rules, which is based upon the 5th edition rules, which is completely backwards compatible, they have some tips and tricks. It's only like 2 pages of just some general information to make sure you can convert your spells into your Tales of the Valiant games. If you maybe want to jump from your 5th edition game just into Tales of the Valiant and just continue your game, which is going to be completely possible as far as I can see. They just have some tips and tricks how to convert everything, which I think is a perfect addition to a new book like this. Well, a new version, not a new book. Oh, and just a tiny thing, it has an entirely new cover. And don't quote me on this, but I can swear there's a bunch of art in here that I've never seen before. Now let's get to the new edition of the family. Now let's get to the new edition of the family, Deep Magic Volume 2, which, from the back, they have 400 new spells, so the 600 in the first book and the 400 in this book makes about 1,000 new spells, 18 subclasses from cooking bards to scavenging druids to fey wizards, styles of spellcasting like pyromancy or weather, they have magical grimoires, 10 spellcasting NPCs, which is a section that I really like. These are NPCs to help hinder characters, or help hinder characters. They are just a bunch of NPCs, like there's a bard with a violin, and there's a typical sorcerer, and there is a typical wizard, and there's just a bunch of NPCs that you can use in your game as allies or enemies for your players, or maybe even use as a stand-in for if one of the wizard players is sick and you need a wizard to stand in for the session. You can use that stat block or a version of that stat block. It's a section that I really, really like. I always like to have that kind of stuff on my shelf just to pick up and be like, oh, I have a stat block for that. It is in Deep Magic Volume 2. Let me just quickly grab it. And then the thing that I am surprised about the most, because I love it. It is 16 adventure site locations, location descriptions, and encounter hooks to go along with the 24 Kobold Press Deep Magic Arcane map tiles. And this is what I'm talking about, the Appendix D Arcane Adventure sites, which I think is something really cool. If you know me, you know I love plug and play content that just says, hey, here's the thing that you can put in your campaign anywhere if you need such a thing. You have like the creatures you can use, a social encounter, maybe some exploration tips for the game master to kind of like take in their game and then run with it and see how it develops in their own game. So this section contains 16 adventure site descriptions suitable for placement at any wizard's tower, dungeon, or other magical location. Each site includes artwork, a read out loud description, and suggestions of encounters suitable for each area. So we have an alchemist's workshop, we have an arcane construct workshop, we have an air elemental node, we have an earth elemental node, a fire elemental node, void, water, all of that stuff. This one I think is like, this one is my favorite. Basically a Haunted Studio, which is 2 pages, 2 rooms in a studio and a haunted mansion kinda. I really like the vibe of this. I really like the map right here, and I really like that they just have like a combat section right here. For example, several objects in the room animate to attack intruders. Use stat blocks like animated armor, flying swords, or animated instruments. The third one being in Tome of Beasts stream. For combat, another combat encounter can be a vampire spawn. Vampire resides in the structure where the studio exists and enjoys leisure time by the fireplace or in the salon. The creature attacks any intruders that dare to disturb its rest, which is also, by the way, in the creature codex. I absolutely love this. There's also references to creatures from the basic rule descriptions from 5th edition. So if you have the SRD of 5th edition or the Dungeon Master's Guide or the monster book, the monster manual, you have some of the monster books by Kobold Press, you can really put this to good use. There's a hidden druid circle. There's a library. If any of the PCs should touch or otherwise disturb the books in this room, one or more paper golem swarms from the creature codex emerge from hiding and attack. There's more. There's a necromancer's laboratory. There is a portal room if you need one. Because who doesn't need a portal room every now and then, right? There's a ritual chamber. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff here, and I absolutely love that they put this in here. This is like really good stuff as a dungeon master you can use. You can just pick up, put in your game, and just do your thing for your game. And I really love that type of stuff. So kudos to Kobold Press for including that in Deep Magic Volume 2. And that is it. Those were my early impressions about Deep Magic 1 and Deep Magic Volume 2. And I want to do separate videos about some certain things in these books. I want to do videos on like the coolest spells that I found, videos on some cool subclasses. I want to do a video on styles of magic, which is a concept in these books that I find really cool, where you can they give you like tips and tricks and rules, guidelines kind of to reflavor your spellcaster in order for them to have a flavor. So for example, everything you cast is more like pyromancy looking or whatever, which is a really interesting concept, something I want to dig deeper into a next video. But about the books, right now, I don't know if my video was helpful or not, but I'm gonna shut up now, and until next video, bye-bye.